Hello, everybody. So, today we're talking about the case of Mahogany Davis. So, this is going to be a fairly short video. There's more information than I normally have. So for that reason, I didn't want to put her into a mini cases video, which are videos where I put several people in that have very little or limited information attached to their cases. And typically, there's not a whole lot of information, like maybe like a paragraph's worth, for people that I put in that video. And she has more than normal, but also not a whole lot. Like I have like maybe a page worth of information to give to you. So I was debating whether or not I should make this like a video just dedicated to her or put her into a video with other people. And I decided it was just better to just make it her own video. And if it's short, it's short. There's also not a whole lot of photos. There's like maybe 2 photos of her, I believe. And I have like photos of like the area where she's from and a person connected, but that is about it. So the links that I have used to research will be down below, like always, and I will also have a link to my other podcast, Sinister. And yeah, let's kind of get into this so I don't want to keep rambling. Mahogany Davis was a 21-year-old mom of 3, including a 3-week-old, when her life was taken. On May 11th, 2002, she was bleeding and barely dressed as she ran into the parking lot of the Little Dipper Apartments in Fairbanks, Alaska. She was weak, and she collapsed onto the pavement, and a neighbor would call 911 at 4:13 a.m. on the 11th. Mahogany lived about 2 hours past the 911 call, and Fairbanks police officer Jim Geyer was able to speak to her before she died. So what did she say? Did she name her killer? Well, what we know is that she did speak to Jim, and Jim says, quote, "We did have the opportunity to obtain information from the victim. We also obtained some information from witnesses and are pursuing leads." End quote. Mahogany had been stabbed to death, and her family knows she would have used what time she had left to tell what happened to her. So why is this case still unsolved? Because it is still unsolved. Well, there's a very possible link between Mahogany's murder and another string of murders. Murders that had a group of people wrongfully convicted, which allowed the real killers to get away with it. So, there was a murder of a boy named John Hartman in 1997 who was beaten to death. The group who killed him went on to kill 5 more after, and those people were the victims, not the people who did it. The victims were Tika Bacote, Hakeem Bryant, Christopher Martin, Victor Torres, and Julie Ann Wild. Rhonda Davis, her mother, says the crime scene was horrific. The apartment where it happened was splattered and smeared with blood. The family believes she was killed by someone she knew since there was no sign of forced entry. She was attacked in front of her 3 sons. Her youngest was fathered by William Z. Holmes, and he was close to John Wallace, who supposedly had ties with John Hartman in some way. John Hartman, the boy who was killed. Rhonda says the oldest child described the killer as, quote, "a yellow-skinned black man," and her stab wounds did not appear to be from a knife. John Wallace was later arrested for attacking and killing a woman in her home with a hammer and attacking and stabbing a man in his home with a screwdriver. Rhonda also says John Wallace has, quote, "a yellow complexion." I just feel weird just saying that someone has a yellow complexion, so that's why I'm making sure to point out that this is what this person is saying. So, the family believes she was killed by William or John Wallace because she had information about them, whether about some large upcoming drug deals or the involvement with John Hartman's murder. Today, her case is cold and no suspects have been arrested, and William and John were never investigated. As for John Hartman, 4 out of the 5 killers had convictions that were vacated after recanting testimony from key witnesses, and the case still has no justice. So neither case does. And I tried to look more into John Hartman, and I really couldn't find much, and what I could find was really confusing. Because when I originally looked into Mahogany Davis, I saw a lot of, I saw John Hartman's name everywhere, and it took me a while to try to, piece together just how they were connected. I was just like, what does she have to do with this person? And finally, I found an article that explained it, so I hope I explained it in a way that you could also understand. So I'm sorry if my information is kind of, muddied. I had a hard time trying to put it together as well. But that is all the information I have for you. Oh, I do have a phone number for anyone that has information. You are urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 907 450 6500. And yeah, that is what I have for you. Typically, my mini cases videos are about this long, and I just wanted to make her video her own. I don't know, it just felt better that way. Personally, I think that the connection with John Hartman makes sense. And if you're still wondering, well, if there's this possible connection between her and him, why did William and John Wallace not be arrested? And I am still not quite sure. From what I was understanding from how the articles explained it, the police were it was very publicized when they wrongfully convicted these people of killing John, and then it was later found out that they had not done it. There was a lot of, flack for that, which there should have been, but because of this, they were slower to actually investigate and actually nail someone down for the crime. So for this, the real killers got away, and it's believed that the real killers could have possibly been William Holmes and John Wallace, if not possibly more. So that's how I kind of understood it to be. Because I was still kind of confused. I was just like, if they believe that they have this connection and all this, I don't understand. But that's what I understood from it. But unfortunately, neither case has justice because of that, because the cops did a really bad job the first time. But personally, I do think that it would be William and John Wallace, just because there is that little connection there. I'm still not quite sure what the connection to John Hartman is. Um, like, how exactly they knew each other. Was it drugs? Was it something else? But supposedly they did. But I think if there is someone who did it, I do think it was probably William and John. That's just my opinion on it, though. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think they had anything to do with it? Do you think it was in connection with John Hartman's case? Do you think it was drugs? Who do you think did this to her? And yeah, thank you so much for listening to Mahogany's story, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.